Peace and blessings, my sisters in the Sacred Woman Heal the Nation group. I just want to make this video real quick because I came home this morning. Tonight's my last night was my last night shift. So I'm moving into day shift, and things are really going to be changing from here on out. So I was reading in the Sacred Woman book on page 75, and I was just inspired to send a little video message this morning of encouragement. I'm taking this class. Actually, I've already taken it, and now I'm going through the second run of it. And, when someone teaches a class the second time, it kind of, you might get a few more tidbits the second time. And actually, it's seeming that we're getting a lot of really good things the second time around. But it's called Black Witchcraft. And if you know anything about the word witch means wise, and then craft means like the practice of, or the science of, or whatever. So it's basically the craft of the wise, or the practices or the sciences of the wise woman and the wise man. You can call them wizards or warlocks or whatever. But in our studies in that class, we're learning about the original form, or the most complete form of the Creator, which would be the goddess, the womb, or the universal womb, which gave birth to everything. That's the Creator. That's what gave birth to everything. And on earth, we see that in the black, or the African woman. There was an African woman whom they traced back scientifically. I think they called her Dinka Nash. And that is whom everyone is related to, no matter what color you are. Original women would be the indigenous women. I think she puts it the red, the brown, the yellow, the melanated people. And they are the ancestral mothers of all. All the people that you see, all the humans that you see on the planet came from one African woman. So if we know about fractals, then we know that as above, so below. And we know that what we see in the physical realm mimics what's in the spiritual realm. So if an African or a black woman or an original woman was the mother of all, then that means that the mother of all things, period, must be the black woman, or the original woman. So coming from that standpoint, we are, as women, carriers of obviously great knowledge. And I'm getting deep into this, the teachings in the Sacred Woman book, and her talking about the womb being the vessel, or what holds all your memories. And also thinking about ancestral lineages and things like that. It seems like in each generation, or at a certain point within an ancestry or a lineage, there's one person who has to step up to the plate, who is already, before they even incarnated onto this planet, said that I will hold the torch. I will keep these teachings alive. Because I was thinking, earlier today, before on my way home from work, about how I'm like the only person in my family, in my line, my lineage, who is continuing to think about the knowledge of the ancestors, of my ancestral line. My ancestors I know about my grandparents, who have both passed away, but they had a farm, and they had animals and all kind of crops and flowers and things. And my grandmother upholstered furniture, and she knew how to sew, and she taught my mother how to sew. And my mother was the only one who really kept up with sewing. My aunts, my grandparents had 3 daughters, and my grandfather had another son by another woman, apparently. Um, we didn't really see him, I don't think. There's a lot of stuff that happened in my family that I don't completely know all the story. But anyway, um, my mom's the only one that continued to sew, and she used to sew and showed me how to sew, and my sister somewhat. As she got a little older, my sister didn't really get so much into the sewing, but she's 4 years younger than me. But I got a lot of lessons in sewing. I remember going to the fabric store with her all the time to get fabrics, pinning her patterns, cutting them out, and things like that. My mom worked in the garden. We lived across the street from my grandparents for almost until I was actually till I was 18, and then they stayed there a couple more years even after I left, and then they moved. And actually, my grandparents moved before my parents did. So my grandparents sold their farm, their 66-acre farm, which I hate. I absolutely hate the fact that they sold that. But what I see is, I had no clue about what I know about now, which is, being self-sustaining, having these talents of being able to put something into the earth and grow your own food and grow your own crops and be self-sufficient, and how beautiful it is to grow your own food. It's very connected with nature. It teaches you a lot, makes you appreciate a lot. So um, I'm like the only person who's still interested. I'm not saying my mom isn't. My mom still does, some things. She decorates cakes. Very talented woman. But as far as continuing, if I stop, there's no one else to carry the torch. None of this knowledge, none of this wisdom gets passed on in my lineage. I'm sorry I'm moving so much. But so I see it as like a big honor, but also a big almost weight on my shoulders. Like, if I stop, nobody's gonna do this. None of my cousins do this. None of my aunts do this. None of my family is still into this kind of stuff. They all moved to the city. We were the only ones that stayed in the country, and practice growing flowers. I'm not saying that my aunts, they did have flowers, but not to the extent that my mom did and my grandmother did. They had flowers everywhere, and flower beds, and fruit trees growing. It takes a long time for fruit trees and nut trees to mature, and for them to sell that is like almost tragic. But I see that in my generation, if I want this to continue, I'm going to have to take that torch. And that's what she was talking about in the book. The wise and wonderful crafts of knowing how to sew, how to crochet, how to knit, basically how to create something. Very creative. You can sell the foods that you grow. You can sell the soap that you make. We didn't make soap, but that's something very creative that wise women can do. Canning, my mother canned, my grandmother canned foods and made jellies, made pickles, all kinds of things that are geared towards your survival. And you can make money with all these things. Women are moving so far away from, in this society, from giving birth to their own children, naturally. I actually had a conversation with a coworker last night about them wanting to get a scheduled C-section. I'm like, you were perfectly capable of pushing a baby out of your vagina. Why would you want somebody to cut you open and take your womb out of you and take the baby out? But women are afraid, they're afraid to do what they naturally can do, and also don't even know their own power. And it's sad. It breaks my heart to hear people say stuff like that, and they don't realize how strong they are. I had 2 children vaginally fine, and I'm blessed that actually happened, because I didn't know what I was doing when that happened, or when I had my children. But I'm blessed and fortunate that I just had, just vaginal births. Even though I did have the epidural, and next baby I have, I won't have any of that. But it's just a lot of wisdom and beautiful things that are passed down through the generations that have stopped. I can imagine that probably several generations back, of course, my family, they were having children at home births. No one was paying $6,000, $10,000, $12,000, $20,000 just to have a baby. You are not sick when you have a baby. That's just the perpetuation of life, or the creation of life and the birthing of life. Why does anyone need to go to the hospital and pay money and rack up a bill just to do something that people have been doing for millions and billions of years, giving birth? So I see all this, the sacred woman path, is a way to reignite all this ancient wisdom and continue it and bring it back, and to alleviate the fear that people have of actually doing things that come naturally and that should be very natural. And there's no reason to pay anyone. Healing is something that we can do for ourselves by using the herbs of the earth and eating the foods of the earth in their natural state. So before I start going on and on and on, because I've worked 12 hours and I'm very tired, let me just read this because it's beautiful. It's on page 75 in Queen Afua, Sacred Woman. Womb imbalance stops here, healing the wombs of your family. And like I said, because the womb holds all these memories, I believe that we are our ancestors. We are our mothers. We are our fathers. Their genes are within us. So they speak to us through us. And they're telling us, keep this alive. You know, whatever hardships they might have went through. Because, of course, as people of color went through slavery, and African people went through slavery, and a lot of our traditions and things were taken away from us, and spiritual traditions and just knowledge was completely taken away, and we were forbidden to practice many things. So our ancestors are crying out for us to continue these traditions and not let them die out. Otherwise, the whole family line dies out. So within your womb is that all those memories, especially as women, all those memories of your ancestors and of that knowledge. So attaining and maintaining womb wellness is a lifetime process. You will see the results of your cleansing according to your willingness to adopt the natural living lifestyle and your body's capacity to release the toxins that cause blockages to your wellness. Let's see. If you start checking out the womb histories in your family, passed down from your mother, your grandmother, and her grandmother, you'll find that what's been going on with your womb follows some of the same patterns as with your foremothers. This is partly because of ingrained thoughts and attitudes, and partly because of the foods you've learned to eat from them, which is actually of greater importance. This chain of womb unwellness cannot come to an end until you realize that you're the only one who can change the whole energy pattern. I can say that because in every family there are always women like you and me. There's always one who stands out, who looks peculiar to the family, who does things a little bit differently, dresses a little differently, wears colors a little differently. And the family is always saying, "Why are you doing that?" In that woman, there's a light that refuses to be turned down or off, no matter how the whole family has been functioning for hundreds of years. You are that light, that sacred woman in training, and you, Sister Queen, have probably been feeling alone because you're the one who's so different. You've been feeling insecure, feeling isolated from the family. Remember, my sister, you are the healer. You are one of the first mothers. You are the one who's going to show them another possibility, another way. You are one of the medicine women the whole planet has been waiting for you to remember, to bring forth the earth wisdom once more. We are the generation that must retrieve this knowledge. I couldn't ask my grandmother about her womb wisdom. She's passed on. This is Queen Afua talking. So I told my mother I was going to go to New Orleans to check with my aunts and their friends. And my mother said, "I don't know who can help you." maybe Aunt Sadie, she was a little bit into the herbs, and I think maybe there was a midwife. This is when I realized that our most precious knowledge is dying out. We must catch this knowing in our generation and then pass this knowledge down to our children so it remains alive in our daughters and our sons and our families. We must regain this wealth, the knowledge that we are medicine women. When we were left on these shores, when our captors would not take care of our health needs and we had to heal ourselves, what did our foremothers do? They prayed, they meditated, they tuned into their inner voices, and then they went to nature, to the roots and the wild herbs. So, the biggest thing that I got from that is definitely healing self is how you heal your entire generation and how you ultimately heal the entire world. You leave a better imprint. You keep that ancient knowledge in the world because they're trying to kill it. Western society or the patriarchal society is trying to kill it. They have a whole system set up where they want to completely ignore intuition. They want to completely ignore earth-based knowledge, earth wisdom, natural healing. You know, just the fact that Mother Earth provides for us everything that we need to be well. And yet they want to completely go against that. And that is why we see so much cancer, so much heart disease, so much lung cancer, so much skin cancer, all these ailments, diabetes, all these things, and obesity, all these things that we see, that is coming from being completely and totally ignorant of the truth. And the truth is that Mother Earth has given us everything that we need. And it's in the form of fruits, herbs, vegetables, and just nature, the sun, the grass, the trees, being outside in nature. So these are the things that we have to retrieve and pass down to our children. And I got a lot to learn, you know, or a lot to pass down, and a lot to make sure that I imprint upon the hearts and the minds of my children so they can continue this path. Because there's an all-out war against this knowledge. The knowledge of midwifery, the knowledge of natural births, the knowledge of how to heal your womb and how to connect the spirit and the body, and to know that you don't grow tumors and fibroids and have heavy menstrual cycles and cramps and all these different things for no reason. There's absolutely a reason, and it's spiritual and it's physical. And you have to address the spiritual issues and the physical issues in order, and also reconnect to Mother Earth in order to be fully and totally healed. And then that will be passed down to your children and your children's children and your children's children, and then eventually it'll come back to you, because I fully believe in reincarnation. So I hope I didn't ramble too much, but that was what was on my heart today. And I read that, and that was exactly what I was thinking about on my way home from work. Exactly what's been impressed upon me. And with this new job I'm going into, day shift, things are going to be radically changing in my life. And hopefully, I know they'll be radically changing in your life. And whatever changes might come. Tonight's the full moon. You know, I'm going to be doing my thing that I do when the full moon comes around. Making things happen, manifesting things, setting my intentions out there, getting some things taken care of. So, with that, I only talked for 20 minutes. I'm proud of myself. I try not to talk too long. So, with that, sisters, just keep reading the book. It's on, like I said, what I just read is on page 75. Think about that, meditate on that. That's my message for you today on this beautiful Sunday. It's very, very windy up here where I am in St. Louis. Oh my gosh, it's just, the wind is kind of scary. But it was beautiful. I just remember driving home and the sky, the clouds were like, it looked like they were just marching. And they were going really, really fast across the sky. Like, the way my hand is going, they were going that fast. And the wind was just blowing them. But the scenery, the trees looked, I can't even describe it. I wish I could have took a picture, but I was driving. So, beautiful day. It's not too cold if you can't get outside, you know, get you some fresh air. It's not too cold up here, and I'm in the north. So, hopefully if you further south, maybe it's a little warmer, maybe. Um, I love y'all. Peace and blessings. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.